good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time you are tuning in to the third episode of Not Your Grandma's Advice. Welcome. So let me just go ahead and get it out the way. I know I've been gone for a little bit of time. I've missed an episode, timeline, I guess I should say, but I'm human, okay? Life was lifing, things be happening, and I'm here now. If you want to know a little bit more about why this episode is a little later than I said it was going to be, you can go ahead and check out the Get Ready With Me that I posted on the official Not Your Grandma's Advice podcast Instagram at NYGA_podcast. Okay? In that Get Ready With Me, I talk a little bit more about why NYGA became a thing, why I chose the format that I did, and a little bit more about why I had to take a hiatus and why I'm back now. Okay? So if you want to know, go check it out there. I'm not going to waste any more time of this episode on it, though, because we got a lot to get through. Okay? Last time we were talking about kind of making yourself more present, right? And taking your brain off autopilot. I said last episode that I was going to check in this episode to see what you guys did that helped you take your brain off autopilot. First, I'll share a little bit about what I did to purposefully take my brain off autopilot, because I don't want you guys to think that I'm just saying things and not actually doing them, okay? So for me, I went to a concert for an artist that, one, I've already seen before, right? But I like his music. I went to go see Chief Keef, by the way, if anybody was wondering. But I've already seen Chief Keef at Rolling Loud, and he's from Chicago. I'm from Chicago, so a lot of people don't, for whatever reason, get excited about seeing artists that are from their same city, because they're like, oh, I could just see them, walking down the street as so-and-so. I know that's like a lot of artists, but not him. But yeah, I went and saw him again in Houston, and he was great, as always. I vibed to his music, as always. Even though his audience made me and the homegirl I was with feel really old, okay? We're both in our early 20s, even though I like to joke and say that she's pushing 30 because she's older than me. The whole crowd seemed like high schoolers, right? So I had to be conscious of how I behaved, of course, but it was a great time. And even though it was somebody that I had already seen before and someone's music I had already listened to, I still enjoyed it. Okay, so that felt like taking my brain off autopilot, because, sometimes I feel like we see an artist that we listen to going on concert. We're like, oh my God, I have to buy tickets. But like, are you really immersing yourself in the experience? Or are you just excited because you can say like, oh, I got tickets to see who and who or so-and-so, So that was my thing. Also, I'm a big hoster. Okay, so I hosted 2 monthly events. All right, I hosted a Halloween party at my house, and I wait for it, merged friend groups. I know, it's crazy. A lot of people feel really controversial about like merging their friend groups, because they're like, I have a different personality for this group, I have a different personality for this group. But my like core 5 down here, I say core 5, but I'm the 5th. My core 5 down here in Houston, I feel like are really versatile girls, and they get along with whoever I put them in front of. Okay, they're just those girls. Okay, and I wanted to start kind of surrounding people from different aspects of my life, because I know it gets sticky when introducing people from different areas of your life, but I thought it was great. And my sibling was there, and their partner. So it was a bunch of people from different parts of my life all together, okay? And it went really well. So that was the main thing I did that took my brain off autopilot for real. Even though I was, But the second one is I hosted Friendsgiving with my core 5. I also attended a Friendsgiving from one of my other homegirls that I'm getting really close with. I actually kind of mentioned her in my Get Ready With Me video as well. So shout out to her and shout out to my core 5. But yeah, so those are the three things, because I'm going to count hosting two different things as two different things. Those are the three things I did since we saw each other last that I did to help take my brain off autopilot. Did it work? I think so. Honestly, I felt a lot more present in those moments. A little overwhelmed, yes, but I think I'll get the hang of it as I start doing more activities like that more often. I was reading some comments on the last couple videos about what people were doing to help get their brain off autopilot. I saw some great ones. Somebody was going to a spa for the first time. I know that's right. Treat yourself. Shout out to my sib. They were hosting their first little friend get together, which is huge because my sib is like me. By sib, I mean sibling. My sibling's like me in the sense that they're selectively social. Okay, so I want to give a big ups to them for hosting their first little like hangout and actually enjoying it. Because come on, growth comes at any age, at any time, in any form. So period. And I saw some other great ones. And this episode is not to say that just because that time has passed that you can't still go back to that video or that snippet and comment what you're still doing to take your brain off autopilot, because I would love to read them from time to time, okay? And I love responding to all you guys' videos. And I say all you guys' it's really my friends and my family, but you guys have been showing up and showing out for me, so I just want to take this time now to give a huge round of applause and a huge shout out to everybody that has been tuning into my videos, that has been resharing, that has been on my ass about my next video coming out now. I just want to give a huge shout out to y'all because y'all keep me grounded, but y'all also remind me of what could be if I just take myself and the things that I want seriously, because you guys treat me as if I'm a celebrity. And it's really funny, but it's also really humbling because it's like, you're the homie. Like, you're not going to be asking for my autograph or like to take a picture with me, but the way you guys still pour into me, words can't even describe. So big shout out to all of y'all. I love y'all with my whole heart, not just a little bit of it, my whole heart. And I hope y'all like this episode too. Anyway, now that that's over, because y'all know I don't do the mushy gushy stuff, so that's all you're getting out of me for the rest of the year. But let's get into this episode, okay? That was a nice little intro. But this episode, I'm ready to step on some toes. I'm not even gonna lie. So brace yourself, okay? So our first two episodes were kind of introductory, and we were talking about what NYG is, what it's going to be. We were talking about getting your brain off autopilot. We were talking about living in your truth, doing things for you. Now I want to talk about something else that you need to do for you, but you also need to do with the people around you and anybody that you hope to have a relationship with. And I don't mean just like a romantic relationship or a sexual relationship. I mean friendships as well, because y'all love to forget that those are a form of relationship. I mean family relationships as well. So when I say relationship, get your head out the gutters, because I'm not talking about somebody you just want to hunch on, okay? I'm talking about anybody that you want to have a connection with, because that's a relationship, okay? Okay. Something we all need to be doing, and I am trying and failing, and that's okay, because I'm going to keep trying until I succeed. But we need to be unlearning our toxic behaviors. If you think you're not toxic, or you just had a moment and you're like, but I like a little toxicity, or I'm not toxic, or I stay away from toxic people, or I don't need to fix anything, you're part of the problem. Okay? So if you feel targeted, if you feel attacked, you're part of the problem. All right? But that's okay, because now that you've recognized it, now it's time for growth, right? What do they say? The first step is acceptance. The first step is acceptance. And as much as I also liked to believe that I wasn't toxic, because I think about all the things that happened to me when I was younger, and I think about the relationships that I had with other people, whether that be family relationships, whether that be romantic relationships, whatever. When I think about those instances and I think about the things that happened to me, I realized I had a victim mentality, okay? And this is not to say that if something happens to you, you're not a victim, okay? Because for sure, 100%, the things that have happened to me, oh, baby, I'm a victim, okay? But that doesn't mean that that gives me an excuse or a reason to act like an asshole. That doesn't give me a reason to make people tiptoe around me for fear of triggering me. That doesn't mean that I get to just act however I want in all my relationships and blame it on what happened to me in the past. Okay? And that's what I realized I was doing. The current partner that I have now, I love him so much. The current partner that I have now is extremely healthy when it comes to relationships. And when we first got together, I was like, oh my God, finally, like someone who's not toxic. I'm not toxic. Like, we're going to work out great. Fast forward down the line, I'm the toxic one. Okay? Because of all these things that happened to me in my past relationships, in my past experiences, I've put up barriers and I've put on acts. And my actions haven't always come from a place of healthiness, if that makes sense. Right? So I'm not gonna, call myself out because y'all don't need to be in my business that much. But just know that I realized that I was the problem in this one. I wasn't doing things like, cheating or hitting or cursing out or blah, 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 the things that have happened to me. But it still doesn't mean that I was acting from a place of healed behaviors, right? And he may not have realized it, or because, we both think that we're really healthy for each other compared to our other relationships. But I felt it and I recognized it, right? And I'm constantly working to get better and be better for him, but also to be better for myself, okay? And that's just one example, okay? Like, I think in our family relationships and our friend relationships, it's even more important. Okay, because that's your support circle. Like, relationships come and go. Not this one. Like, I'm not going to say what I want to say because it's a little toxic, but this one's going nowhere. Anyway, relationships come and go, right? But friends and family, like, that's your chosen family, right? Especially when you're this young. I have a homegirl. We're going to be celebrating 20 years of friendship soon. I have another homegirl. We're going to be celebrating our 10-year next year, right? It's insane. But these girls have seen me through different eras of my life, and we've grown together. Now, of course, there are some relationships where you grow apart, and that's fine. But are you growing apart, or is it unchanged behaviors that's causing you to drift apart from people? Because I'll admit, I was in a extremely toxic relationship when I was in high school. Like from sophomore year of high school to like freshman, sophomore year of college. Like, it was a long relationship and it was a toxic one. Like, I had no self-worth by the end of it. But during high school, it was really hard to maintain friends and friendships because they would kind of like force me not to talk to people, and they would like spread rumors and lies and make it seem like I was the crazy one. Let me give you an example, okay, without telling my business too much. So I know a lot of us are starting to realize a show that we watched growing up, Victorious. Shout out to Nickelodeon. But anyway, Victorious, Jade and Beck, right? Growing up, we were like, oh my God, Jade is so crazy. Like, she's toxic, blah, blah. Like, she doesn't trust Beck at all. But as we're getting older, we're like, no, Beck was constantly doing things to make her act that way. And then making it seem like she was the crazy one for lashing out for his behaviors. It was kind of like that, okay? Like, he would do things that caused me to react and then would wonder why I'm reacting to the things that he's doing. Right? Right. So it was kind of like that. And because of that, I didn't really have a lot of friends. Going to college, I had like no social skills at all. I didn't know how to make friends outside of like joining clubs and activities. So that's what I did. But those friendships still never really lasted. And I started getting into like that boohoo, woe is me mentality. Like, why can't I make a friend? Like, I just want somebody that like actually enjoys hanging out with me, like somebody that will put in effort to me. But was I putting in effort to them? No. You know? So if you have the constant feeling that you can't maintain friendships, you can't maintain relationships, your family doesn't want to talk to you, and you feel like woe is me, like everybody's against me, you might be the problem. Okay? And I hate to say it. No, I don't. I don't hate to say it, actually. You might be the problem. And acceptance is the first step. We need to start unlearning these toxic behaviors. I've given you a couple examples now of how something that happened to you a while ago, like I'm well out of college now. Well, not well out because I'm still in my master's program. But I'm out of undergrad now, and I haven't been with that man for a long time, and I've been with my current partner for a very long time as well. But the things that happened in that relationship still affect me to this day. They affect the way I act. They affect the way I talk. They affect the way I behave when I'm making new friends and new connections. It impacts things. But it's also not my job to make people tiptoe around me. There are also things that happened in my youth that are extremely traumatizing. And my brain blocked out a lot of that growing up. And when I was in therapy, and recounting those things and getting your brain to actually unlock all those memories, you're kind of re-traumatizing yourself, right? And there are certain smells, words, phrases, places that would cause me to have panic attacks, that would trigger me deeply, where I would be affected for days, right? Like just seeing a make and model of a car would send me into a full-blown panic attack. That's no way to live. Like, I understand that there are things we can do in this day and age to help with that, like going to therapy, getting on medication, but at the end of the day, you have to put in the work to heal from it, okay? I can't just walk around and be like, I can't see this type of car, or I'm going to have a panic attack, so it's your job to not drive that type of car around me. Do you see how stupid that sounds? And that's an extreme version, but that's how it is when something affected you and you're expecting other people to tiptoe around it as to not affect you again, right? It doesn't make sense. And because of that, you might mistreat people. You might shut people out. You might expect people to treat you a certain way, and when they don't, you blame them. And you might not think that you're toxic because you're not lying, you're not cheating, you're not hitting, but that's the extreme, right? There's always like a middle ground. And right now, a lot of us are teeter-tottering in the middle, where toxic things may have happened to us, and you may say that you like a little toxic, but like, grow up. Like, I used to say the same thing. I still feel those things, but at the end of the day, like, we have to grow up. All right. So now that we've talked about why there are so many reasons that you need to unlearn your toxic behaviors, how are we going to do that, Nova? I can't afford therapy. I don't want to be put on medication. I don't believe in blah, 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 blah. I understand. Okay. There's a lot of things that you might consider barriers to growth. Okay. Therapy. Let's talk about it. Therapy is amazing. I will say that. And not just as someone who wants to be a therapist, as someone who has been in therapy, and as someone who used to look down upon therapy. I'll admit it. Coming from a Black household, a Black Christian household at that, I did not believe in therapy until I really needed it, until I was begging for it, right? Therapy is great. And I understand that in a lot of communities of color, therapy is seen as something for crazy people or that white people shit. I get that. Okay? Truly, I do. I don't really get it. I understand where you're coming from. Okay? Therapy is an outlet. Therapy is a coping mechanism. Therapy is a preventative. Therapy is so many things if you just let it. okay? If we want to talk more about therapy, we can. My DMs are always open, but that's all I'm going to say on that one because I could talk about it for days. Therapy is one option to start unlearning your toxic behaviors, especially if you don't even realize what your toxic behaviors are yet, right? We'll talk about implicit biases a little later. But yeah, another one, medication. You know, if you're someone who, like I was expressing earlier, has extreme anxiety based off the things that happened to you previously, or seeing certain things continuing to a extreme low, medication is an option, right? It's always an option if that's the route you want to take. I'm not going to speak negatively or positively about it. I'm just stating matter-of-factly, it is an option, right? Thirdly, you could do the work yourself, okay? So being really authentic with people and think about the things that you desire out of different relationships in your life, right? So in those romantic relationships, what's your dream partner look like? You know, and I don't mean like what do they look like or what do they do for work? Like, I don't mean like that. No one cares about that. I mean, how do they act? When they are kind, what makes them kind? Right? If they're smart, how do they show their intelligence, right? Because you might want someone that's kind and smart, but is that kindness like, oh, they're always late because if they see an old lady crossing the road by herself, they're going to get out the car and help her, or they're always late because this person needed help carrying this. Like, how do they show that kindness, right? Is it that they're only kind to you, that they're kind to everyone, that they come from a kind family? How do they exhibit that trait, right? And then what about, you know, them being smart? How do they show that they're smart? Is it just that they have a bunch of degrees? Is it that they read a lot of books? Is it that they love to educate others? How do they show that intelligence, right? Think about all the things you desire in a romantic partner. Think about all the things you desire in a friend. When they're trustworthy, is it a trustworthy as when I tell them something, they're a steel vault, like they're not saying anything? Is it like that? Are they trustworthy in if my car breaks down, I know that I can call them? Like, what do you want in a friend, right? Family. How do you want family to be there for you? You don't really have a choice in who you're blood related to, okay? Like, I know it's unfortunate because a lot of us wish that we had cousins, aunties, uncles, siblings, sisters, brothers, whatever, and we wish we didn't, okay? I understand that this is a tricky one. How do you want your family to act towards you? Okay, what do you think family should do for each other? Think about all those things and then do a self-check. Do you exhibit any of those things? Do you do any of those things? Because it's one thing to ask for that from somebody and you're not even bringing that to the table, okay? It's one thing to say, oh, I want somebody that's super smart and reads a bunch of books and has a lot of degrees. Okay, and what do you bring to the table? Can you read a book? Do you have one degree? You know, you're asking for things that you don't exhibit. If that makes sense a little bit? Okay. I know that was an extreme example, but you can apply that in however you see fit, for real, okay? You can show that in however you want, right? So some things that I think we should start talking about for our next episode. And remember, I'm going to come back to the video and I'm going to look at the comments to see if you guys have actually been putting in the work. I think next episode I might read some out loud. I don't know. So make sure you're actually putting in some work this month so that our next episode, right, maybe we have something more to talk about, okay? But what I'm doing or have been trying to do to unlearn my toxic behaviors, one of them is my untrustworthiness. People love to count it as trust issues. I wouldn't say that I have trust issues. I would say that I'm not the most trusting person, okay? Because it's not that I have issues with trust. I can trust someone for sure. It just takes time, right? For me, I was sneaky about trying to determine if I could trust somebody or not, right? That might be leaving my phone in the room and like calling it and seeing like if they talk about me, something like that. It might be going through someone's phone. It might be asking other people if they talk about me behind my back. Like, instead of just starting with trust and then taking it away if it deserves to be taken away, right? Now, I know you can't always just flat out trust anybody like right away with anything, right? So if I'm like bleeding out and obviously I need surgery on the way to the hospital, if there's a man on the side of the road and he's like, "Oh, I can perform the surgery for you right here," I bet you can. You know, I'm not necessarily going to trust him with life-saving surgery just on the side of the road, okay? Especially if the hospital's right there, right? Now, I understand those are instances like that when you can't just trust somebody flat out right away. But say you're making a new friend, right? And you know that period you have when you're making a new friend and you're trying to assess how much you can and can't share with them? Tell them things about you, though, okay? So, something that one of my friends used to do, oh my God, I hope she don't get mad about me saying this. Something that one of my friends used to do is she would lie. When she was making a new friend, especially a friend group, like it's a group of people hanging out for the first time, she would lie. And she would tell like one person one story that's a little different than the same story she told somebody else that was also a little different. Like, the same main parts are like, the main parts are the same, but like there's little key details that are different, right? And then if somebody like questioned her about it or it came up somewhere else, like she would figure out who told or who said something because of those key little details that she put in there. She's psychotic, but she's brilliant. Okay, she's a little scary. Don't do that. You know, like, don't do that. She hasn't done that since we were like younger, but like, don't do that. One thing that I did when trying to assess whether somebody was a new trustworthy friend is I would just not tell them anything substantial about myself, or I would tell them something extremely dark about myself to see if they stuck around, right? So if I told somebody about like my trauma as a young girl, about like the ex I had that forced himself on me, or about an ex I had that broke into my hotel room, like if I said things like that and they were like, "Oh, okay," and then we never saw each other again, I would be like, okay, well, you know, they know the worst things, but they also know things that I wasn't really hiding from anybody. Or I would say like small details. Or I would say like small details when we were trying to get to know each other. And I would only talk about the things that didn't matter, like my favorite color or what I wanted to be when I grow up. I never really talked about like the details. Like, most people by now know that I want to go into counseling. I also want to open my own wellness center, but no one really knows the details or how in depth that me and my mom have talked about this wellness center like for years. And that's because, you know, I didn't trust anybody with the idea. So no one even knew that I wanted to do something outside of counseling for a long time. Now, what life is that? You know, where the people that you're surrounding yourself with, you can't even trust them with basic things like your dreams, right? And I know that for a lot of us, trusting someone so openly, like making a new friend and telling them about a financial struggle that I'm going through or something, or telling them Something about my family that might be really personal, right? That person may not be trustworthy, right? They may use that against you, or they may tell other people. But how is that your fault, right? If someone took information that you shared with them out of trust and they betrayed that and told other people, that's not your fault, right? Don't blame yourself because you were a trusting person and they're the scum, right? It makes no sense to be walking around with a closed heart when you're such a lover because other people mistreated it, okay? And I'm really talking to my lover girls right now as well. My lover girls, my lover boys, my lover they thems. I'm talking to y'all right now. That heart that you keep locking up every time somebody hurts you is still one of the purest hearts there is, okay? If you are a lover, then love. Don't pretend to be this hard person that you're not happy portraying when you know you're a lover girl. There are people who are going to take advantage of it, okay? But at the end of the day, the right person will come around if you're exuding who you're supposed to be, right? If you're exhibiting the characteristics of a tough girl or a tough guy or a man eater or a womanizer, that's what you're going to attract. You're not going to attract anything of substance, right? But if you are constantly loving the way you want to be loved, if you're constantly acting the way you want others to act around you, you're going to attract that eventually, okay? I have 100% faith in all my lover people out there, all my lover girls, all my lover guys, all my lover they thems. I have complete and total faith that if you keep your heart open the way it's supposed to be, the way you want it to be open, someone's going to be attracted to that. And someone's going to treat you the way you deserve to be treated. And yes, that's for our lover people, but that's also for any other thing. If you're wanting to attract something, first you have to exude it, right? They always say, like, you get what you give, you know? You also give what you get. And I understand that if you're getting a lot of harshness, a lot of roughness, a lot of toxicity, you might want to be harsh and rough and toxic. You can't let that affect you, okay? Because if we keep walking around just throwing mud and throwing hate and throwing dirt on everything and everyone, our world is going to be dirty, okay? But if I had to laugh because I was about to start cursing, but I'm really trying to make this family appropriate, okay? I'm doing my best, y'all. But if our world is going to be dirty, right? If we're just constantly throwing around hate and dirt and nastiness. But if you're constantly throwing around love and light, and some people throw around dirt and hate, who knows, right? That dirt and that love and sunshine might come together and something beautiful might come of it, right? Because if we're... All right, I'm about to make an analogy, and it's going to sound a little crazy, but bear with me, okay? Not an analogy, but an example, right? So you take some dirt, you take a little seed, you take some water and some sunshine. What you going to get? You're going to get a flower that can bloom into something very beautiful that can brighten someone's day. That being said, dirt might be something that's frowned upon. It's something that we don't want to track through our houses. It's something that we don't want on our clothes. It's seen as something filthy, right? But when it's mixed with something beautiful, some sunshine, something essential, water, which could be kindness, love, whatever's in it can grow, okay? Whether that be grass, whether that be a flower, whether that be a tree, whether that be whatever, right? So even if someone is being dirty and nasty and mean, sprinkle them with sunshine and maybe something beautiful will grow from them. I think that was a beautiful analogy, y'all. I really have to give myself a pat on the back. I hope y'all got it. If you didn't get it, maybe rewind it and then watch it again, and then maybe you'll get it. I don't know. But that being said, I'm going to continue putting in the work to unlearn my toxic behaviors. No, I am not in therapy right now. I would really love to get back into it, but I'm going through some changes right now in life, and we're working on getting a therapist on top of all of that, okay? So hopefully by the next episode, I can say, oh, me and my therapist, blah, 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 right? That's why I give so much time in between these episodes, because growth takes time, okay? Having an episode every Friday or 2 times a week doesn't allow you to actually start putting in the work to make the things that I'm saying a behavior, right? A second nature. The episode I last left off on, which we were supposed to have an episode in October, I know. But the last episode that we had in September, when we were talking about turning your brain off autopilot, if I turned around and had another episode that same week or that next week, what if you didn't have a chance to do anything yet? And you're like, oh, well, the deadline passed. Not that there's a real deadline. Like, so I'll just do it next time, blah, blah, blah. And you're pushing it off. I'm giving you time between these episodes. You had a bunch of time this time. You had a bunch of time. But I'm giving you time between these episodes to start putting in the work. A whole month. Start putting in the work. Okay? That being said, stop being toxic. Stop making people tiptoe around you. And start spreading a little bit of sunshine. Okay? Stop throwing dirt. I'm looking forward to reading all your comments about your thoughts on this episode. Okay? That being said, I'm proud of you for tuning in, for committing to doing the work, and committing to your growth. Because we got to be better people. Right? Right. I will see you next episode. I hope you had a very happy holiday for those that celebrate. And I can't wait to see you guys next time. Bye.